concerns about the mismanagement of this taxpayer-funded project and agree that serious questions must now be answered by the Conservative Council.
Thank my honourable friend. I know my honourable friend has raised this issue time and time again with East Sussex County Council. The delay to Queensbury Gateway project has wreaked havoc for her constituents. Given the project was funded with government money, serious questions must now be asked of East Sussex County Council about these issues and the delays that have come about.
Secretary of State Richard Oldham.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr Speaker. When we're next here, the budget will just be days away. So can the Transport Secretary rule out any of the following? Increased duty on fuel or flights, VAT on private hire, increase the insurance premium tax or raising rail fares above inflation? And if she won't, has she at least spoken against any of these measures in Cabinet or to the Chancellor since she took up her role?
I know how important affordable public transport is to people in Britain. I know the importance of the fuel duty freeze that we brought in last year. I can assure the honourable gentleman that I will have conversations across government to protect businesses and protect the travelling public.
Thank you, Shane.
In recent years, the cost of car insurance has gone through the roof, with quoted prices rising an average 82% since 2021. Car insurance is an essential, not a luxury, and I welcome the government's commitments to tackle these spiralling costs for drivers in Derby and across the UK. Can the Secretary of State provide an update on what progress her task force is making in getting a fair deal for drivers when it comes to car insurance?
Minister.
So this government is committed in our manifesto to tackle the high cost of motor insurance, and I'm pleased to see recent data suggesting that average premiums are falling. The government's task force, chaired by the Department of Transport and HM Treasury, is continuing to work to identify short and long-term policy actions which may contribute to stabilising or reducing premiums.
Ian Solomon.
Mr Speaker, under current government policy, rail commuters in St Neots face a rise of nearly £400 for annual season tickets to London next year, for the first time paying over £7,000 for services plagued by delays and cancellations. So how does the Secretary of State justify this policy to my constituents?
Secretary of State.
I do know that affordability is a top concern for people when it comes to rail. No decisions have been made on next year's rail fares, but our aim is that prices balance affordability for travellers with what is fair for taxpayers.
Marcus Campbell-Sams.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Penrith and the surrounding villages have endured a summer of gridlock, with junction 40 on the M6 repeatedly grinding to a halt, particularly when peak holiday traffic is heading to Cumbria and the Lakes. While we await the vital A66 Transpennine upgrade, for which we're all very grateful, will the Minister agree to meet with me to discuss urgent, short-term interventions that Highways England can implement to ease the pressure for my constituents?
I sympathise with those suffering in congestion at junction 40 of the M6, which I'm told is due to various issues. I know my honourable friend, along with the honourable member for Carlisle, have been working hard to resolve these issues for their constituents. I'm very happy, of course, to arrange a meeting to discuss any future short-term interventions that could ease congestion with either me or with my team or National Highways.
Thomas.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. As we see increasing use of e-scooters, increasingly there are small numbers of people who are conducting antisocial behaviour whilst riding around on these micro-mobility vehicles. This is of great concern to my constituents, and I'm particularly concerned that there is no minimum age requirement for the purchase of an e-scooter, and that there is no national registration scheme that could help track those who are using these for nefarious activities. Has the government got any plans to introduce a national registration scheme for e-scooters?
Minister.
As I mentioned a little bit earlier, the government is determined to and has every intention of bringing about legislation on e-scooters. All this will be taken as part of that development of the policy.
Matt Rodder.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Mr Speaker, the £1 billion regeneration scheme at Station Hill in Reading is bringing large numbers of jobs and new housing to Reading Town Centre, and this is due to the Elizabeth line. Can the Minister update the House on the benefits of this wonderful railway line, both to Berkshire and across the country?
Secretary of State.
Like my honourable friend, I'm a big fan of the Elizabeth line, and I commend him for his dogged support of the scheme on behalf of his constituents. It is a significant addition to the transport network in London and the South East, and has had tangible, positive impacts on the supply chain around the country, as well as providing faster journeys into and across London from Reading. I was proud to have personally helped to deliver this new railway in my previous role in London, and to see that it has now supported around 55,000 full-time jobs, as well as creating over 1,000 apprenticeship opportunities.
Christine Jardine.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. Further to the comments earlier about driving test centres, it's a very serious problem in my constituency of Edinburgh West. All 5 of the centres closest to us have waiting times of 24 weeks. That's 6 months. People are now looking to other parts of Scotland for tests. Now, I appreciate what the Minister said about employing extra people, but can I ask that specific interest and special attention is given in this circumstance to Scotland, where in rural areas particularly it's a problem?
Minister.
I will meet with the member.
Alex Mack.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Does the Minister agree that extending the Dunstable-Luton busway onto Leighton Buzzard and then Bletchley would be a real boon to more fully link the area into the Oxford-Cambridge growth area?
Responsibility for local transport is devolved to local authorities who are responsible for the operation of the networks, including extensions of busways. The government is committed to the Oxcam growth corridor, and Lord Valence has been tasked with exploring options and how best to deliver economic growth in this area.
Matthews.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. There's a workshop taking place this morning in Bath, bringing together key stakeholders from the rail industry and local authorities. It focuses on the development of rail services in Wiltshire and will include the case for building a Devizes Gateway station and increasing services in Melksham. The recommendations of Network Rail's Wiltshire Rail Strategic Study, would the Secretary of State or Rail Minister meet with me and key stakeholders to discuss taking forward these key projects in Wiltshire? Thank you.
I can assure the honourable gentleman that I'm aware of both the Bath and Wiltshire Metro scheme and the Devizes Gateway project. Whilst we don't have any plans currently to take forward those schemes, I would encourage local authorities, Great Western Rail and Network Rail, to continue to work together in developing these plans and in exploring funding opportunities.
Rutland.
Who use the A259 Coast Road are being deprived of the choice of safe and sustainable travel to Brighton, as Conservative-run West Sussex County Council has dragged its feet for more than 3 decades on delivering a cycle path. What can the government do to help me and Shoreham by Cycle push for this much-needed infrastructure that West Sussex County Council has long promised but failed to deliver?
Minister.
I'll be happy to meet with the honourable gentleman.
Right. Andrew Rossend.
Mr Speaker, I wonder if the Secretary of State for Transport would have a word with her friend, the Mayor of London, about the appalling mismanagement of the Gallows Corner junction where a new flyover is being constructed. The gridlock and the chaos and the delays are affecting the whole of the Romford side of Essex and the whole of East London. It really is chaos. Yeah. Will she please get it sorted out?
Sorry,
I'm sure the Mayor of London and Transport for London will want to do all that it can to minimise disruption during any construction of the sort that he describes. If he wishes to write to me with more of the details, I'm really sorry I didn't hear the question in full when he was giving it. Was it Gallows Corner? If he wishes to write to me with the specific details of the local issues, I will come back to him.
Mary Kelly-Foy.
Mr Speaker, my constituents have been very vocal about their opposition to the LNER timetable changes starting in December this year, including the removal of the 8:22 a.m. commuter service from Durham to Newcastle on a weekday. LNER assured me they were replacing it with an equivalent service, but from reports this week, the service will now take an extra 10 minutes from Durham to Newcastle, arriving at 8:44. This is not an equivalent service. So will the Minister meet with me and LNER to ensure that commuters leaving Durham are provided with an equivalent service?
Secretary of State.
I know she is a great champion for her constituents, and I did review the correspondence she had with the Rail Minister over the summer and was aware that the 822 service had been reinstated. I wasn't aware of the longer journey time, so I would be happy to meet with her to discuss that further.
Tom Gordon.
In response to a recent written parliamentary question, the Department confirmed they're shelving improvements to Skelton Junction outside York. This will impact on the proposed improvements to rail services for commuters in Harrogate and Knaresborough. How does this align with the government's vision for growth?
We are committed to improving rail connectivity and capacity in the north of England. I would be happy to have a further conversation with the honourable gentleman about the particular scheme that he mentions today.
Chair of the Select Committee, Ruth Kelly.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I also look forward to working with the new Minister, the member for Selby. Mr Speaker, at last week's Transport Committee we heard that car clubs, peer-to-peer ride-sharing and car-sharing schemes align with government objectives around transport integration, reducing congestion, increasing EV use and supporting rural residents where public transport's poor. And unlike other countries like France, the sector in the UK is operating in a policy vacuum, particularly since the government withdrew the car club's toolkit guidance in May this year. Is the Minister planning to address this policy vacuum?
Minister.
I thank my friend completely. I think you're completely right, and I thank the Transport Select Committee for raising this important point. I've commissioned officials to consider how we can support and promote the use of car club and car share schemes, starting with a round table with industry stakeholders, which I'd be delighted if she could attend, and I'll make sure that guidance is reinstated.
Fleur Anderson.
The Hammersmith Bridge closed 6 years, 4 months and 22 days ago, cutting off the bus routes and causing congestion in Putney. I welcome that the Minister held the first Hammersmith Bridge Task Force meeting. When will the next one be held?
Secretary of State.
My honourable friend will know that I am very aware of the problems related to Hammersmith Bridge, and I know that my honourable friend, the Minister, did host that first meeting, the resurrected Hammersmith Bridge Task Force. I do have some good news for her in that we announced in the spending review a structures fund to assist local authorities with repair to bridges, tunnels, which are beyond the financial capacity of the local authority themselves to fund. We will be setting out the criteria for access to that fund in due course.
Lawrence Turner.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. Half the bus sector's funding now comes from public sources, but during the summer, National Express announced changes to bus services in my constituency with just 2 weeks public notice, which will have a really negative effect for residents in New Franklin, Allens Cross and Bourneville Gardens Village Retirement Home. Does the Minister agree that when regulation is brought in, which is welcome, that consultation must be included?
Minister.
I agree wholeheartedly. It's really important that when designing a network and changes to the network, that local people are engaged.
Yes. Kim Johnson.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Liverpool City Region Mayor Steve Rotherham has submitted a new town bid with Liverpool and Sefton councils, regenerating the most deprived areas of the country. Does the Minister agree with me that for new towns to succeed there needs to be proper funding for integrated transport? And will you commit to working and meeting with the Mayor and the politicians to make this happen?
No state.
I can assure my honourable friend that I have very regular meetings with the Mayor of Liverpool City Region. I am completely cognisant of the fact that for new towns to be successful, thriving communities, they need public transport built in from the start. And indeed, I think there's capacity to create almost new towns and existing towns where public transport is already available, and those are the sorts of conversations I'm having with our regional mayors.
Pam Cox.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The A12 is a major transport route into Colchester and a vital part of economic growth in the region. Would the Minister agree to meet with me to discuss the urgent need for upgrades to its western end?
Rachel Hopkins. Sorry, Minister.
I'd be delighted to.
Rachel Hopkins.
Thank you. Luton Station is the gateway to Luton Town Centre, and thanks to this Labour government will soon be getting lifts to all its platforms. However, the roof still leaks. Would the Minister meet with me and representatives of Luton Council to see what can be done with regards to the state of the station?
Secretary of State.
I will certainly talk to the Rail Minister and ask him to meet with the Honourable Lady. We can't have a leaking roof in Luton Station.
Oliver Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Padiham Greenway Bridge has been closed since 2021, and in December of last year, this government gave £280,000 to Susterns to help get the work finished, but there is a shortfall. This government has given £19 million to Lancashire County Council through active travel and the capacity fund to get this project online. Does he agree with me that Lancashire County Council should prioritise this to get it done? Can I thank him for his extensive correspondence with me on this topic?
I know my humble friend is a very active campaigner in this area. We're delighted to meet with him to discuss what further pressure we can do to make sure this is delivered.
Point of order.
Mr. Speaker, you will be aware of the mistakes made during the counting of votes yesterday.
Shocking.
Are you able to give some guidance to the Treasury front bench on the importance of the work of the whips?
Let me just say divisions are a core part of our business here in the Chamber, and accurate recording of votes is integral to the parliamentary decision-making. I appreciate there's been major changes within the Whip's office, and what I can say is it is about the new role that has got to be delivered. I know the House team will work with the Whips to make sure that we get accurate recordings. What I would say is I've met with the Chief Whip this morning. I've explained the concerns that have been raised with me following last night through the Deputy Speakers. We do take it seriously. My door remains open for the Chief Whip. I hope he's going to use that avenue as a way that we can work together. It's been unfortunate that I've not had that conversation till this morning. I am now going to leave it at that. We know, I'll let the front benches change over. Right, we now come to the urgent question. Neil O'Brien.
Mr. Speaker, to ask the Foreign Secretary if she will make a statement on the process for the appointment of the United Kingdom's ambassador to the United States.
Minister Doughty.
Well, thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I thank the honourable gentleman for his question. Before I respond to it, Mr. Speaker, I think it's important that we all recognise today as the House that it is, of course, the anniversary of the September the 11th attacks. Many of us will be attending commemorations later on today, and our thoughts are, of course, with all the thousands of people who lost their lives in that despicable terrorist attack, including many British, many American citizens and many other countries. And, Mr. Speaker, I think the whole House's condolences and thoughts will be with the family and friends of Charlie Kirk. Absolutely appalling attack and murder yesterday, Mr. Speaker. We know too well in this House, sitting underneath the two shields of our dear colleagues from across the political spectrum, the terrible consequences of political violence. And I know that the whole House will be thinking of Charlie's family, friends and others, and urging an end to this sort of political violence. It's absolutely appalling. Mr. Speaker, in light of additional information in emails written by Peter Mandelson, the Prime Minister has asked the Foreign Secretary to withdraw him as ambassador to the United States. The emails show, Mr. Speaker, that the depth and extent of Lord Mandelson's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein is materially different from that known at the time of his appointment. In particular, Mr. Speaker, Lord Mandelson's suggestion that Jeffrey Epstein's first conviction was wrongful and should be challenged is new information. And in light of that, Mr. Speaker, and mindful, as we all are, of the victims of Epstein's appalling crimes, he has been withdrawn as ambassador with immediate effect.
Neil O'Brien.
Mr. Speaker, thank you for granting this statement, and I agree with the words of the Minister about September 11th and Charlie Kirk. But, Mr. Speaker, this is yet another extraordinary error of judgment by this weak Prime Minister. And I pay tribute to the Leader of the Opposition for yesterday securing justice for the victims of Epstein. This raises massive questions. It is not just that Peter Mandelson said that Epstein was his best pal and that he loved him. It wasn't just that he brokered a deal for him while he was Business Secretary. We now, of course, know that he was working for Epstein's early release after he was convicted. And the simple question is this. Is the Minister now saying that the Prime Minister did not know about any of this at the point where he was appointed? Don't say the boxes were ticked and the process was followed. What did the Prime Minister know at the point of his appointment? Our Minister this morning said, my understanding was that all of the information was present. Is that correct? Did the Prime Minister know, and will the government now publish all the documents relating to Peter Mandelson's vetting? And if the Minister says he doesn't know at the time, when did the Prime Minister become aware of these revelations? Now, Peter Mandelson quietly stayed at Epstein's house while he was in prison. Mandelson now says that he was wrong to think he was innocent. That's his defence. He had pleaded guilty. So there are huge questions here, Mr. Speaker. Did the State Department, the US State Department, give any warning to our government ahead of this appointment? Did the Prime Minister's Chief of Staff, Sue Gray, give any warning? Have any employees of Global Counsel visited our Washington embassy since his appointment? Next week is going to be the state visit. This is a huge turmoil ahead of it, and I cannot believe that the government have put our monarch in this terrible position. I am glad that Peter Mandelson has now gone. The Foreign Secretary had said that protecting women, girls and victims was her priority. How on earth did that square with the behaviour of the government over recent days, squirming and twisting to try and protect Peter Mandelson rather than the victims? Mr. Speaker, let's be clear. This is a government where you had a corruption minister having to resign over the links to corruption. You had a former police officer having to resign over having not been clear with the police. You've had a housing minister having to resign over not paying tax on a house. And now you put our ambassador to Washington in the middle of the biggest scandal in Washington. This is a weak Prime Minister with error after error of judgment.
Minister.
Well, Mr. Speaker, I think the first thing that we all need to be clear across this House, and I'm sure the honourable gentleman wouldn't disagree with this, is that the victims of Epstein are at the forefront of all of our minds. He was a despicable criminal who committed the most heinous crimes and destroyed the lives of so many women and girls. Clearly, obviously, events in the last few hours, he wrote his remarks before that, but I want to reiterate what I said to him, which is that the emails show that the depth and the extent of Lord Mandelson's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein is materially different from that known at the time of his appointment. And in particular, Mr. Speaker, the suggestion that Jeffrey Epstein's first conviction was wrongful and should be challenged is new information. Lord Mandelson has resigned. That decision has been taken, and that is a very, very clear answer to his questions.
Andy MacDonald.
I'm sure I speak for the whole House in sending our best wishes to our colleague in Washington and Gateshead South for the appalling fire at her office overnight. We send our very best wishes to her and her staff. May I thank the Minister for his statement. The Prime Minister has made exactly the right decision, and I think that has to be acknowledged. He's moved at pace to put that right. Don't be ridiculous. Treat it seriously.
Please. It's very important. There will be a lot of people listening to what's going on in this chamber. So please, let's put some courtesies to each other.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Could I ask the Minister? Clearly, the appointment process didn't pick up these issues. That's self-evident. So can we have an assurance that there will be an inquiry as to why that was not the case and that this House will be kept informed? Thank you.
Well, Mr. Speaker, can I first, I wasn't aware of the terrible incidents that he referred to this morning. I've just been informed, and I'm sure the thoughts of the whole House will be with our colleague from Washington and Gateshead. And, Mr. Speaker, I know how seriously you take the safety and security of members of this House, and I think particularly in light of international events and the tragic loss of colleagues, this all the more underlines why we must have security and safety to go about democratic debate in this country, whatever our views, in a safe and secure way. Mr. Speaker, I thank him for his comments on the decision. As I said, this is a decision that has been taken by the Prime Minister and the Foreign Secretary, and Lord Mandelson has resigned. He asks about the processes. Of course, any candidates for ambassador positions are subject to routine extensive vetting and background checks as a matter of course, and I would point him to the formal processes outlined in the Diplomatic Service Code, which highlights the robust security clearance and vetting process that all members of the diplomatic service undergo.
Helen Maguire, Liberal Democrat spokesperson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Firstly, our thoughts are also with the friends and families of the victims of 9/11, and I'd also firstly like to express my regret and sadness of the murder of Charlie Kirk. And I also hope that the staff and MP for Gateshead South are all okay following the incident at her office. Absolutely no place in society. Tasked with overseeing the UK's relationship with Trump, the accusations surround Lord Mandelson cast a damning shadow. So it's right the Prime Minister has withdrawn his support for Lord Mandelson. Yesterday, the Prime Minister stood by Lord Mandelson's appointment and confirmed that rigorous background checks had taken place. So what has changed since then? There remain questions over what the government knew and when about Lord Mandelson's relationship with the sex offender, whom he previously described as his best pal. Did he resign or was he sacked? It's vital that the Civil Service Commission now investigates whether the Ambassador broke the Diplomatic Service Code by failing to come clean over these revelations sooner. Was the vetting process pushed through too fast? So will the Minister today confirm that an investigation will take place so that no such incidents can happen again? Reports have also surfaced that the Cabinet Office suppressed the relationship of a memo about Mandelson's relationship because it could compromise relations with the US. Will the Minister confirm if this was the case?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I thank her for her remarks regarding our honourable friend. And again, I would just underline the importance of us all being able to go about our roles in a safe and secure way, whatever our political views and our beliefs. And I think in light of international events, particularly in the United States, that should be all at the forefront of our minds today. I've been very clear, Mr. Speaker, in light of the additional information in emails written by Lord Mandelson, the Prime Minister asked the Foreign Secretary to withdraw him as ambassador. That is very clear. The decision was taken by the Prime Minister and the Foreign Secretary, and those emails show that the depth and the extent of the relationship is materially different from that known at the time of his appointment.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I associate myself with the comments about our condolences and concerns for our member for Washington and Gateshead? Can I also thank the Minister for his statement and confirm that I too am disgusted and appalled by the actions of Epstein, and my thoughts are with the victims of his crimes. Can the Minister confirm that we have an excellent Deputy Ambassador in Washington who will ensure that our mission continues and next week's visit will go ahead?
Well, Mr. Speaker, we have an excellent team overall in British Embassy Washington, and indeed I pay tribute to the work of all of our diplomatic service colleagues across the world, and they do an excellent job representing this country, ensuring that our security and prosperity is at the forefront of their work, and of course in our relationship with the United States in particular, that is crucially important. Our special relationship, our unique security partnership. I'll be at the United States Embassy later on today, and it's our closest and most important relationship. So I agree with him that there is a very excellent team in British Embassy Washington.
For the House, Edward Lee.
Obviously, this is a very sad day for the United States with 9/11 and the assassination last night. Now, this is such a crucial relationship with us with the upcoming state visit, and this is a dark cloud over this. So, will he forgive me, the Minister? I just give him some gentle advice. In my experience of these scandals, the cover-up and the lack of due process and the allegations of cronyism are much more serious than any original offence or alleged offence. So will the Minister ensure that every single document is released post-haste about the process, including this issue about the meeting that Mandelson requested with Prime Minister Blair over Epstein? So we need everything released straight away, move on and get a new ambassador.
Well, Mr. Speaker, he is absolutely right about the importance of our relationship with the United States and the upcoming state visit. Very important. We've got an extensive team working on that, and His Majesty the King is obviously very much looking forward to welcoming President Trump, and of course many officials working diligently day and night to ensure that that visit is a success. I'm not going to get into the individual issues and claims that he makes, but what I will say is that this is a decisive decision, and in light of the additional information in emails written by Lord Mandelson, the Prime Minister has asked the Foreign Secretary to withdraw him as ambassador.
Kim Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I would also like to offer my support to my honourable friend, the member for Washington and Gateshead. This incident follows a number of incidents that she's experienced this week, and it's out of order. I'd like to thank the Minister for his statement, and I'm really pleased that he has been sacked. But I'd like to know what due diligence was undertaken prior to his appointment, when everybody knew about his relationship with Epstein before his appointment.
Well, Mr. Speaker, as I've made very, very clear, it was in light of additional information in emails written by Lord Mandelson that the Prime Minister has asked the Foreign Secretary to withdraw him as ambassador, and in particular, Lord Mandelson's suggestion that Jeffrey Epstein's first conviction was wrongful and should be challenged is new information. And again, I know my honourable friend well, I know that her thoughts and the thoughts of all of us will be with Epstein's victims and the appalling crimes that he committed.
Sir David Davis.
I think the House needs to understand the sheer size of the failure of the vetting process here. In the public domain, Lord Mandelson had to resign for not telling the truth about an interest-free loan. He had to resign because he had, on a second occasion, because he had helped out a business friend to get a passport. Beyond that, there are still unresolved doubts about his behaviour as the European Trade Commissioner, when he gave concessions to the Russians, which helped his other dubious close friend, Mr. Deripaska. But on the positive vetting process, when he came to be a minister again, in 2010, the code, section 7.1, says, ministers must ensure that no conflict arises or could reasonably be perceived to arise between their public duties and their private interests, financial or otherwise. Secretaries of State don't have private diaries. He spent time with or in Mr. Epstein's flat, it seems quietly meeting other members of the people involved in the Sempra deal, which cannot be seen to have been following his proper duties as Secretary of State. Was this investigated? Because it was in the government documents. It doesn't have to be a private email he sees. Was this investigated, and was it made a judgment on?
Well, Mr. Speaker, as I've said, and he asks specifically about vetting, all candidates for ambassador positions are subject to routine extensive vetting and background checks as a matter of course, and I would point him to the formal process outlined in the Diplomatic Service Code, which highlights the robust security clearance and vetting process which all members of the diplomatic service undergo. But again, I would point out that in light of additional information in emails written by Lord Mandelson, the Prime Minister has asked the Foreign Secretary to withdraw Lord Mandelson as Ambassador to the United States.
Sarah Coombs.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I agree with the Minister's utter condemnation of all the horrendous crimes of Jeffrey Epstein. Does he agree that the government, as soon as this new information came to light, did take decisive action very swiftly, which is different from the party opposite when they were in government, when they had serious misgivings? It was actually the independent ethics advisor that ended up resigning.
Well, I do agree with my honourable friend that this is decisive action. The Prime Minister has acted in light of that additional information, Foreign Secretary has acted, and Lord Mandelson has been withdrawn as ambassador to Washington.
Stephen Flynn.
I'm sure the Minister's delighted that he's not had to shred his own reputation like his ministerial and cabinet colleagues have had to do on the broadcast rounds over the course of recent days, including, of course, this morning trying to defend Lord Mandelson and the lack of judgment shown by the Prime Minister. I don't know what it is about the decades of scandals and being best friends with a notorious child trafficker and paedophile which should have got some alarm bells ringing in number 10 before this decision was taken. But if I listened correctly, the Minister did not confirm to the Father of the House that all materials relevant to this would be published. Did the Prime Minister know about these emails prior to standing up at that dispatch box just yesterday to say he had confidence in Mr Mandelson? And does he retain the Labour whip in the House of Lords?
Well, Mr. Speaker, what I can commit to, and indeed other honourable members and honourable members asking questions, is we will keep the House updated on these matters. That decisive decision has been made, and as I've been very, very clear, all candidates are subject to routine, extensive vetting and background checks as a matter of course. The Prime Minister, in light of the additional information, has asked the Foreign Secretary to withdraw him as ambassador to Washington, and in particular that additional information and the emails show that the depth and the extent of Lord Mandelson's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein is materially different from that known at the time of his appointment. But where I do agree with him, of course, is on the appalling crimes committed by Jeffrey Epstein, and that the thoughts of all of us are with his victims, as they are every day, Mr. Speaker.
Andrew Peck.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And I first associate the comments others made about disgusting crimes of Jeffrey Epstein. Also, 24 years ago today, I was sat in the TUC Congress as a delegate when awareness of what happened on 9/11 had just come. So can I also put on record my tribute to the first responders and public service workers in New York who came to the aid of people, many of whom are still paying the price of that today. A lot has changed in politics since then. In those 24 years, one of the motivations that got me into public life was around accountability and the lack of accountability we saw from senior ministers when the party opposite were in government, and their failure to resign when scandals came up and the failure of front benchers to take action. So can I welcome the swift action this government has taken now new information has come to light? Can the Minister assure us that lessons will be learnt, and if these things arise again, this government will hold up the highest standards and take the action needed to protect public life?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I can absolutely assure him of that, and this is decisive action. And Mr. Speaker, he references his time during the September 11th attacks, and I think we all remember where we were on that fateful day and that tragic day, and that's why we remember the victims, particularly today on that anniversary.
Sir Bernard Jenkins.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I just point out that it was as plain as day after the exchanges between the Prime Minister and my right honourable friend, the Leader of the Opposition yesterday, that Lord Mandelson couldn't possibly carry on in his role. So why did the Prime Minister delay, or did he have to wait and be told what to do by Morgan McSweeney? And who is going to be the new ambassador, and how quickly is the new ambassador going to be appointed at this absolutely critical time when Russia is testing the very defences of NATO countries, and we are showing such a weak response?
Well, Mr. Speaker, he will know, having, I'm sure, visited our embassy in Washington on many occasions, that we have an excellent, dedicated team there, including also, of course, in King Charles Street, in the Foreign Office here in London. And they're working on many, many aspects of that crucial security, defence and economic relationship. We are preparing for the state visit, and they're working diligently in that regard, and I commend them for that work. But he asked about new information, and I've been very, very clear, Mr. Speaker, in light of the additional information and emails written by Lord Mandelson. The Prime Minister has asked the Foreign Secretary to withdraw him as ambassador, and I've gone into the particular items, and of course, in light of that and mindful of the victims of Epstein's crimes, he has been withdrawn as ambassador with immediate effect.
Whereas, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister has acted swiftly and decisively. What a contrast with the party opposite. I note the Shadow Foreign Secretary is not in the House today. What happened when she broke the ministerial code? The Conservatives promoted her. Does the Minister agree with me that we will not take lectures on ethics from the party opposite?
Well, Mr. Speaker, I've been very, very clear that the Prime Minister has acted decisively on this matter, and in light of that additional information, the Prime Minister asked the Foreign Secretary to withdraw Lord Mandelson as ambassador to Washington. That is decisive action. That is responding to that information, and I've explained the reasons for it.
Can I just say to one member, when he's mentioning another, I presume he has contacted to let them know that he's going to mention them. Is that the case? I'm sorry, but please do not do that again. We're meant to be treating each other with respect, and what I would say is, please, and it's a message to all members, if you're going to mention somebody, give the courtesy of ensuring the member is aware. Richard Ford.
Mr. Speaker, on the Foreign Affairs Committee, we have seen the high calibre of career diplomats who usually take up the most senior ambassadorial appointments. So it's not obvious to me why the British ambassador to the United States was a former MP. In the emails that have leaked overnight, it seems like Lord Mandelson thinks that to govern is to schmooze. Lord Mandelson famously declared in an election victory speech that he was a fighter and not a quitter, yet Lord Mandelson urged the convicted paedophile, Jeffrey Epstein, that to fight for early release was the right thing, and Lord Mandelson did not do the decent thing and quit. Does the Minister regret the original appointment?
Well, Mr. Speaker, he asked about precedent. He will know, of course, there is precedent, but of course, he will also know we do have absolutely excellent ambassadors and high commissioners around the world, and he and I have met many of them directly together, representing this country and doing that absolutely diligently. I've been very clear, Mr. Speaker, in light of the additional information in emails written by Lord Mandelson. The Prime Minister has asked the Foreign Secretary to withdraw him as ambassador, and in particular, Lord Mandelson's suggestion that Jeffrey Epstein's first conviction was wrongful and should be challenged is new information. And the emails show that the depth and extent of Lord Mandelson's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein is materially different from that known at the time of his appointment.
Sir Roger Gay.
Mr. Speaker, the Minister's a decent man, and the whole House knows that the business of the House was delayed while he had to hurriedly rewrite the speech that he was expected to make. But he's stretching the bounds of credibility too far. Yesterday, the Prime Minister told this House that he had full confidence in a man who befriended the most vilest of convicted paedophiles. He should not have been appointed in the first place. That was a gross error of judgment, and everybody in this House knows it, and the Prime Minister has to take responsibility. But now that he's gone, will there be a Cabinet Office inquiry into the manner in which Mandelson, while a government minister, was negotiating with the convicted paedophile?
Minister. Well, Mr. Speaker, you'll understand why from the dispatch box I'm not going to comment on his last remarks, but what I will say is that the Prime Minister has acted decisively in light of this new information, and he has taken that decision to ask the Prime Minister, the Foreign Secretary, to withdraw him as ambassador. And I would say, again, for the House's information, in particular, the suggestion that Jeffrey Epstein's first conviction was wrongful and should be challenged is new information. The emails show that the depth of the relationship and the extent of the relationship was materially different from that known at the time of his appointment. And I think, again, Mr. Speaker, in light of that and mindful of the victims of Epstein's crimes, he has been withdrawn as ambassador with immediate effect.
Dr. Caroline Johnson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Mr. Speaker, the idea that our country should be represented in America or on the world stage by somebody who is trying to get a paedophile out of prison early will fill us all completely with revulsion. But I wonder if the Minister could be clearer. He's used the terms the Prime Minister has asked the Foreign Secretary to withdraw the ambassador. He said the PM made the decision, but he's also said in this speech that Mandelson resigned. So could he be clear in simple terms? Did he resign or was he sacked?
Minister.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker, I've been very, very clear. The Prime Minister asked him to ask the Foreign Secretary to withdraw him as ambassador. That is the process. He is no longer in his position. But what I will agree with her is our absolute revulsion across this House at Jeffrey Epstein's crimes.
Rupert Lowe.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I concur with the comments about Charlie Kirk, which the Minister made at the beginning. It shows the dangers, I think, that anybody who's brave enough to put themselves up for public service and try and change the world for the better, they risk those. They face those risks. Can I ask the Minister to first of all give us a reassurance that we will have total transparency on the process that was followed in the ambassadorial appointment? Number one. Number two, can the Minister please explain to the House, assuming we get over that hurdle, why the appointment of a man who described President Trump as a danger to the world, who the Americans described as an absolute moron, who has close links with China, and who has a history of misfeasance in public office, why was he the right appointment to make to the relationship with the most important and powerful country in the world, and a relationship which is essential to this country?
Well, Mr. Speaker, if I refer firstly to his first comments, and he and I fundamentally disagree on many different issues, but we know that we conduct our robust debate in this House and in our media and in our political society, and we don't engage in any form of political violence. And what has happened in the United States over the last 24 hours is simply appalling. And again, our thoughts are with all of Charlie Kirk's family and friends. And as somebody who worked very closely with both our late colleagues Joe Cox and David Amos, I think it shocked me to the core. It shocked all of us to the core, and it can never be acceptable. He asked about the processes. I've been very clear, Mr. Speaker. All candidates for ambassador positions are subject to extensive vetting and background checks as a matter of course, and I'd refer him to that formal process outlined in the Diplomatic Service Code. But what I can assure him, Mr. Speaker, is that we will keep the House updated on these matters.
Gagan Mahendra.
Thank you,
Speaker, while the whole House is welcoming of the withdrawal of Lord Mandelson as head of mission, can the Minister confirm whether Lord Mandelson is still being paid as a civil servant?
My understanding, Mr. Speaker, is that he's still an employee. Proper employment processes take place, but I will write to him and confirm an answer to that question. He's been asked to withdraw as ambassador, obviously, in recent times. I will come back to him with a very detailed answer on that. I don't want in any way, inadvertently, Mr. Speaker, to mislead the House on an important matter. Tom Gold.
Mr. Speaker, it seems that there's a broad consensus from the whole House. This felt like it was a question of when, not if. So I would ask the Minister, during that extended vetting procedure, was there ever any interference or pressure from either Number 10 or the Prime Minister?
Mr. Speaker, he will know. I simply am not going to go into vetting procedures. They're conducted independently, and certainly he can look at the details of how vetting processes are undertaken in that diplomatic service code, which outline the process.
Sir Gavin Williamson.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. The Diplomatic Service Code states that diplomats' behaviour, action or inaction must not significantly disrupt or damage the performance or reputation of a diplomatic service. It also states that diplomats must set out the facts and relevant issues truthfully and correct any errors as soon as possible. In light of this, did the Lord Mandelson set out how many payments he had received by the sanctioned Russian oligarch Oleg Deripaska, even to accounts in this country, Switzerland or other areas? And has there been a situation where there's been one set of rules for civil servants and another set of rules for friends of the Prime Minister and Jeffrey Epstein?
Well, Mr. Speaker, his question in essence to the right honourable gentleman gets to the essence of the decision that's been taken. In light of additional information in emails written by Lord Mandelson, the Prime Minister has asked the Foreign Secretary to withdraw him as ambassador to the United States. The emails show the depth and the extent of the relationship with Jeffrey Epstein is materially different from that known at the time of his appointment, and in particular, Lord Mandelson's suggestion that Jeffrey Epstein's first conviction was wrongful and should be challenged is new information. He's well aware of the procedures, and of course he knows that I don't have the documents relating to the vetting process in front of me.
Jim Shannon.
Mr. Speaker, thank you very much. You've caught me unawares here. Can I, on behalf of my party, convey my support to the Honourable Lady for Washington on what's happened to her? I think it's very much in her thoughts, and I was in her company yesterday. Also, on behalf of my party, can I also express deep sadness at the assassination of Charlie Kirk, a 31 Conservative influencer who engaged with young people across the United States of America. I know he's in heaven. Do pray for his wife and children. I think we should all do that. At times like this, it is essential that we have an ambassador in place to convey our sincere sympathy with our allies. The removal of Peter Mandelson is to be welcomed. He should never have been there in the first place, in my humble opinion. Does the Minister believe it is imperative we have an ambassador in place, and that that ambassador must have adequate history and qualifications rather than the jobs for the boys mentality? And further, what changes will the Minister make in the appointment process to restore confidence in that very role? Thank you.
Well, Mr. Speaker, my honourable friend is rightly known as one of the kindest and most generous members of this House, and again I thank him for his comments about our honourable friend and the attack that she's endured this morning. And again, I wholeheartedly agree with his comments in relation to Charlie Kirk. He can be assured that we are already conveying our condolences to the United States, and of course I expect to be with the United States Ambassador to London later on today, where I'll be able to do that in person. He will know from a practical point of view that of course there are many posts where we, for periods of time, have ambassadors or high commissioners vacant. We have excellent teams who do the job, and of course when ambassadors and high commissioners are travelling, there is a team in post able to represent this country and ensure our interests are maintained, and that is exactly what will happen in this case.
Dr. Luke Evans.
Mr. Speaker, this is about the Prime Minister's judgment. By Mandelson's own admission, he said there's more very embarrassing information coming. So the Prime Minister could have come to the House yesterday and said, I will suspend pending further investigation. But he didn't. He backed him. So on the back of that, can the Prime Minister be 100% sure that in any trade deals or any negotiations, that Mr Mandelson has not been compromised by the information that has now come forward? And will he commit to investigate that?
Very good.
Well, Mr Speaker, again, I bring him back to the fundamental point here, which is in light of the additional information and emails written by Lord Mandelson, the Prime Minister asked the Foreign Secretary to withdraw him as ambassador.
Thank you very much, Mr Speaker. Can I associate myself with the words the Minister said about 9/11 and the untimely and tragic death of Charlie Kirk? Yesterday it was reported that in 2008 Lord Mandelson emailed Epstein and said that the conviction that happened to him in the United States, I quote, could not happen in Britain, but also encouraged Epstein to go for early release. Mr Speaker, the whole House can see that the Prime Minister has an issue when it comes to judgment and only acting when he's pushed by events in this House. But will there be an investigation into Lord Mandelson's meetings while he was ambassador to see if they bear any relation or any interference on his current business interests? Will this government remove the whip from him in the House of Lords, yes or no? And will Lord Mandelson be entitled to severance pay once this action and this sacking has happened?
Well, Mr Speaker, on the question about the whip, as an FCDO employee, Lord Mandelson was on a leave of absence from the other place. So that's very clear. As I said, Mr Speaker, the emails show that the depth and the extent of Lord Mandelson's relationship with Jeffrey Epstein is materially different from that known at the time of his appointment, and in particular his suggestion that Jeffrey Epstein's first conviction was wrongful and should be challenged as new information, and that is why the Prime Minister has asked the Foreign Secretary to withdraw him as ambassador to Washington.
Mr Speaker, the Prime Minister had behind process yesterday. The Minister is doing the same today. Did the Prime Minister know about these messages before Prime Minister's questions yesterday?
Mr Speaker, I'm of course updating the House in real time as to actions and decisions that have been taken. I've been very clear about the new information that has come to light and the decisive decision that the Prime Minister has taken as a result.
Final question, John.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Minister claims that additional new information has come to light, which has resulted in the Ambassador being sacked. But can the Minister confirm that this is the only new information and all the other information was in the Prime Minister's knowledge?
Mr Speaker, I refer him to the comments I've already made.
Point of order, Neil O'Brien.
The Minister says that the only reason Peter Mandelson has had to resign is the additional information that he had campaigned for the early release of Epstein. They are not saying exactly what they did or did not know at the point of appointment, and the only way for this House to know exactly what the government knew is to publish the documents relating to his vetting. Now, if the government will not publish those documents, as the Minister says they will not, would it be possible for this House to obtain those documents using the humble address mechanism?
It's not a decision for me. What I would say is the Treasury bench has heard, and if the Minister wishes to respond, I'm more than happy. Not going to. I'm not going to continue the debate, but I'm going to take a point of order from Stephen.
Mr Speaker, on a point of order, I would just welcome clarity further to the point that was previously made. The Minister was asked on numerous occasions when the Prime Minister was made aware of the information which led, the additional email information which led to Mr Mandelson's sacking. He's not provided the House with that information. What avenues are available to us as members to find out when the Prime Minister knew about this additional information?
Look, the honourable member and the leader, I know very well he knows the mechanisms that he will start to use. What I would say is I don't think this is the end of it today. I think this will be returned at some point. In fairness to the Minister, he has said the House will be updated as and when they have the information. So the points have been taken. I expect the points to be answered sometime. But let's just... It's going to be a long weekend before we get to Monday. Let's leave it there. I don't want to continue the debate.
And it's in relation to this issue, but in terms of the House procedures. Can I ask you, Mr Speaker, the information that I took from the Minister's answer was that Lord Mandelson had not given the full account of his actions in the past while going through vetting processes. Therefore, can I ask you, as a member of the House of Lords, what are the disciplinary mechanisms that can be taken by the procedures of the House of Lords to make him accountable for that action, if true?
Can I just say, I've enough with the House of Commons. The responsibility of the House of Lords is not for me, and we're certainly not going to take it. Right, let's leave it there. Come to the next urgent question. So, Secretary of State Julia Lopez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. To ask the Secretary of State for Science, Innovation and Technology if she will make a statement on the cancellation of life sciences investment.
Minister.
Mr. Speaker, can I firstly start by welcoming the Honourable Lady to her new role. I did want to do that yesterday, but questions ran ahead of us, so I'd have the opportunity to do that. I'm answering this question, Mr. Speaker, on behalf of the Secretary of State. Mr. Speaker, as a significant life sciences company which employs more than 1,600 people and plays a leading role in delivering new treatments for diseases like cancer, Merck, known as MSD in the UK, is a valued partner to this government and a key player in our life sciences ecosystem. MSD's decision to not progress its investment in King's Cross is therefore deeply disappointing and a commercial decision for them. King's Cross is a shining example of the strengths of the UK life sciences clusters and is one of the biggest in Europe, employing more than 60,000 people in the area. It's seen investment from major life sciences companies including Novo Nordisk, GSK and AstraZeneca. It houses world-leading institutions such as the Crick Institute and Wellcome Trust. Some of the country's leading biomedical research centres, including UCLH, Great Ormond Street Hospital and the Moorfields Eye Hospital, are also based there. We are proud of this industry. It has delivered great things for our country in the past, does so today and will continue to do so in the future. This is why life sciences is one of the 8 priority sectors in the industrial strategy and is backed by £2 billion of public investment to enable it to grow, leading the world in making great discoveries like personalised cancer vaccines and the new test for Alzheimer's disease. MSD's investment in the area would have enhanced its status further, and the fundamentals of the UK market are actually more advantageous today than when they made the decision to invest in this project. What has changed are the US and international fundamentals. The UK has become the most attractive place to invest in the world, but of course there's still a lot more for this government to do. The academic environment in the UK continues to produce innovative ideas and the talent to run with those ideas which attracts that foreign investment. The environment to do research is outstanding. We've got great academics and the NHS does provide a research platform that is second to none. This decision has in part been taken as part of a broader effort by MSD to ensure the company is optimising its investment and resources in its key drivers of growth. As such, it's not continuing its drug discovery operations in the UK. The company has recently announced in their quarterly report that they are to cut $3 billion a year from their operating costs, resulting in significant impact on their share price. This is compounded by an ever more challenging and uncertain global economic situation in terms of trade and tariffs, etc. This problem with the NHS medicines goes back as well 15 years. I wonder, Mr. Speaker, who was in charge over that period. Spending on NHS medicines has fallen from 15% to 9% in that time, with the last joint agreement on medicine prices being agreed between the sector and with the previous government in 2023. We're living the consequences of those underinvestment decisions made under the previous government. They took their eye off the ball on NHS medicine investment, and my right honourable friend, the Health Secretary, made a £1 billion offer to the sector in summer. However, this government also recognises we need to do more to support and grow our life sciences sector. We've already started delivering on the work of investing £600 million in the Health Data Research Service alongside the Wellcome Trust, to committing up to £520 million to life sciences innovation manufacturing, unlocking billions of pounds. We continue to work closely with the sector to unlock growth and ensure life-changing treatments and technologies for this innovative sector. MSD will continue to be a key investor in the UK, Mr. Speaker. I welcome their continued investment in clinical trials and their significant partnerships with our institutions such as Our Future Health. MSD will continue to employ 1,600 people. We remain closely engaged with MSD as we take forward the life sciences sector plan and the 10-year NHF plan.
Order. Can I just gently say, people come into new positions. You were only allowed 3 minutes, not the 5 minutes like a statement. So I'm sure you're coming to the end now, Minister.
Last sentence, Mr. Speaker, if I'll just conclude, but thank you for your advice. Life Sciences Sector Plan, the 10-year health plan, will continue to explore opportunities to partner with the MSD further and build on our long-standing relationship.
Julia Lopez.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I hope you'll give me the same flexibility if I go a little over. Last night, US pharmaceutical giant Merck cancelled the construction of a £1 billion drug research centre in the Prime Minister's constituency. 800 jobs were going to be provided, now evaporated. 125 scientists were to be employed, no longer. And the message from Merck executives was unsparing, Mr. Speaker. Simply put, the UK is not internationally competitive. The government must wake up and to do so now. If AstraZeneca's announcement on investment was the canary in the mine for UK life sciences, then last night's announcement should be a klaxon sounding across Whitehall. Can the Minister assure us that he is arranging urgent meetings with health, business and treasury ministers today? This facility was going to specialise in diseases like Alzheimer's, Parkinson's and MS. It was going to feed into the work of a cluster of life sciences bodies like the Francis Crick Institute. Did the government engage with Merck before its decision? And what damage will this cause to research and medicine access for our constituents who are affected by these conditions? The government told UK taxpayers that their devastating national insurance hike would boost the NHS. But NHS leaders admit the money's gone on national insurance, wage deals and drug price inflation. Not better services, no money left for negotiations with life sciences companies. In fact, life sciences have faced a £1.6 billion tax bill and a real terms cut to R&D. What are DSIP ministers doing to push the Health Secretary for progress on health data, on advanced therapies, price negotiations and regulatory reform of the kind that will improve our life sciences offer? For the last year, Labour has dined out on deals secured by the last Conservative government. We were promised that a US-UK trade deal would open doors for business. Instead, American firms are cancelling projects and our ambassador, who should have been batting for Britain, was instead battling for survival. Now that Lord Mandelson has slinked away again, who is speaking to the Americans about this collapsed deal? What will the Prime Minister be doing ahead of the state visit of President Trump to help UK life sciences? I welcome the Minister to his place, but where is the Secretary of State? In her very first week, she has overseen a £1 billion investment collapse. If she doesn't understand this is the most important thing in her brief right now, and if the government doesn't change course, it will not be the last deal to collapse.
Mr Speaker, I'm grateful for bringing this urgent question. It's an incredibly important issue, but let me just answer some of the questions. I think there were some questions in there from the Shadow Secretary of State. I mean, the Shadow Secretary of State asked what message that Merck has given to the government, but the message from Merck went in their quarterly report just a few months ago when they had to cut $3 billion a year from their operations. That is a significant amount of money, and their share price reflected the significance of that announcement. There is no doubt that MSD makes the world's most profitable and popular cancer drug, which goes out of patent in 2028, and they also said in that quarterly report that that is causing some pressure with their shareholders. The US trade deal, of course, that's been mentioned by the Shadow Secretary of State, said that we would use best endeavours to improve the conditions for US pharmaceutical companies in the UK, and the tariff for pharmaceutical companies to the US remains at 0%. The EU has a 15% blanket tariff, as we know, Mr Speaker. And in terms of NHS medicines, it's a common theme in this chamber, Mr Speaker, that the shadows of Secretaries of State come to this chamber and bemoan the state of the economy, they bemoan what has happened in the NHS. Waiting lists are fallen, whereas they were at their record levels. Satisfaction when we left the NHS in 2010 was at its highest level ever. It's now at its lowest. And indeed...
You can't do punch of order in the middle of it. You come at the end.
Mr Speaker, there's no doubt that spending on NHS medicines has fallen from 15 to 9%, which is part of the problems in the pharmaceutical industry. My right honourable friend, the Health Secretary, made a £1 billion offer to the pharmaceutical industry over the summer, but they chose not to vote on that, so the Health Secretary withdrew from negotiations. We're trying to clear up the mess that's been left after 14 years of Conservative governments, and the Shadow Secretary of State should realise that that mess is deep, that mess is wide, and it will cause problems in the sectors. But as the Health Secretary has stated a number of times, and with that £1 billion offer, he's trying to resolve some of these underlying issues.
Chair of the Select Committee, Dame Chi Omora.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. And I would like to welcome the Minister to his place, I wish under better circumstances, because the loss of Merck's investment, following on the loss of AstraZeneca investment in January, will certainly be perceived as a blow to the UK's life sciences sector, though we must not forget the amazing work that businesses, startups and researchers do in constituencies across the country, including in my own. And we also must not forget the importance of value for money in NHS spending. So the Select Committee will hold an urgent session on Tuesday to examine the issues driving the life sciences sector, including tariffs, investment incentives from the US, access to capital, and the relationship with NHS pricing. But in the meantime, it is clear that the life sciences sector plan, published in July, does not reflect market conditions. Could the Minister update us on how and how quickly he plans to revise the life sciences sector plan?
Can I thank the Chair of the Select Committee for that constructive approach, and I look forward to the Select Committee on Tuesday to examine this particular and really important issue. She mentions the life sciences sectorial plan. That's really important, Mr. Speaker. It comes with significant investment in research and development. It comes with improving clinical trial performance. It comes from moving money and support from other key sectors into the sectors that are in the industrial strategy. Life sciences benefit from that. There's £2.5 billion a year from this government going into life sciences. That contributes towards the £9 billion that the private sector invests every year. And there is no doubt, and the Select Committee Chair will know this, that the Chancellor, when she passed her budget last year, gave the most generous settlement for research and development ever in the spending review, £86 billion over the spending review period. That's to support the industrial strategy, of which life science is a key sector. And she does, as well as I know, from companies in my own constituency, that the sector is growing, the sector needs more support, and we're determined to deliver that.
Ian Son, Liberal Democrats.
Mr. Speaker, and I also welcome the Minister to his place. It is incredibly disappointing that MSD has pulled out of this £1 billion investment in the UK, including the loss of over 100 jobs in important life sciences infrastructure. But this has been on the cards for some time, and the warnings to government have fallen on deaf ears. As has been mentioned earlier this year, AstraZeneca also cancelled planned upgrades to its production, and Novartis has described the UK as largely uninvestable. One pharmaceutical company reducing its UK operations is a problem, but there is a worrying trend that threatens a crisis in the sector. The UK is becoming less and less attractive to the life sciences industry, and with good reason. Firstly, the budget saw huge rises in costs to all businesses, including through Labour's jobs tax. And secondly, when it comes to the life sciences industry, there has been a notable lack of investment across the sector, including in job creation and critical skills, and in creating that commercial environment that can compete internationally. Lib Dems continue to call for the government to make research and development investment 3.5% of GDP, which in life sciences would be a key focus. And that would be coupled with extra support for academic institutions to commercialise research. So I would like to ask the Minister how the government plans to restore confidence among pharmaceutical companies that the UK is a competitive place for research and development and manufacturing. Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, I'm grateful to the honourable gentleman for raising those particular points. It's really important to lay out to the public but to the House that MSD will still continue to employ 1,600 people in this country and be a key part of the life sciences sector. And there's many companies that are investing. Moderna, BioNTech, Isomorphic Labs are all investing in this country. In my own constituency, Roslin CT are expanding at such a great pace that they can't keep up with the amount of space that they require, and they can't keep up with the kind of wet lab facilities that they require. So this is all the challenges that we're having to try and deal with. I gently say to the honourable gentleman that from what the second sentence of his contribution was about the national insurance increases for employers, and the fourth sentence of his contribution was about spending more money on R&D and life sciences. They can't be both true. And therefore, if you want to spend money and the priorities that you have, and political parties will have different priorities, then you have to raise that money. And you can't have it both ways. So the message to the industry is that this is the best place in the world to invest. Bring your investment here, and this government backs you through an industrial strategy and a life sciences sectorial plan.
Steve Ress.
Speaker, and welcome the Minister to his place. Exeter has a very strong life sciences and R&D section. Just recently, Exeter University was awarded £10.5 million from UKRI to set up the metamaterials hub, real cutting-edge science. And that also leveraged private sector investment into Exeter of another £10 million. Does the Minister agree with me that it's this sort of investment and commitment to research and development that will enable cities like Exeter to thrive and grow in the future?
Mr Speaker, can I just pay tribute to the honourable gentleman for the work he does in his constituency of Exeter with the university in a whole number of areas, and all of us who represent university towns, of which I do as well. There's significant investment going into research and development, significant investment in life sciences, because that is the future for this country. This country is committed to growth, and I can assure the honourable gentleman that I'll be doing everything I can in this role to make sure we're investing in that. And just gently remind the House again that in the spending review, this was the largest ever settlement for research and development this country has ever seen, at £86 billion. That says to the industry we're open for business, come and invest here, and come and make life sciences at the top of that investment.
Roger Gale.
Well, Mr Speaker, Discovery Park in my constituency at Sandwich is the phoenix that rose from the ashes of Pfizer. It's now a cluster of over 100 very enterprising, very successful small companies in the life sciences field. The loss of cornerstones like AstraZeneca and MSD could have a devastating effect upon the architecture of the pharmaceutical industry in this country. So what is the government going to do, practically, to reverse the decline in confidence in that industry?
Mr Speaker, I say to the right honourable gentleman who I've had the utmost respect for, that in this first part of his question he quite rightly promotes the wonderful work that's going on in his own constituency at the Discovery Park, and then says that everything is doom and gloom. That is not the case. This government is investing in research and development to the tune of £86 billion. We're investing in life sciences. It's one of the 8 key sectors in the industrial strategy, and I would hope that the business park in his constituency benefits fundamentally from that. And I would merely repeat that MSD are not leaving the UK. They will still employ 1,600 people here and be the cornerstone of research in this country.
Thank you
very much, Mr Speaker. And I welcome the Minister to his place. This is devastating news for the research scientists, for the fantastic work they do on neuroscience, inflammation and immunology. Some of this is being carried out at the Francis Crick Institute, to which I declare that I'm an unpaid visiting research scientist there. But will the Minister agree with me that the UK has so much expertise to offer, and the Minister needs to look at the whole life science ecosystem, from bench discovery to pill dispensing at the bedside? And will the Minister join us at the Science Innovation Select Committee on Tuesday afternoon, where we can go in depth about these issues? Thank you.
Mr Speaker, can I just pay tribute to the right honourable lady for the work that she does, unpaid, as a research institute, and it would be really good to hear from her what she sees inside the sector. But she raises, I think, the most important point in any debates about science and research development and life sciences in particular in this country, that we have world-class institutions, we have world-class companies, and they are made world-class by the world-class scientists and academics that work within them. We should cherish that, we should grow it, and we should have more.
John Platt. Thank you, Mr Speaker. At Porton Down in my constituency, there is a hub of life science businesses. I've listened very carefully to what the right honourable gentleman has said, and I recognise the difficult dilemmas that all governments have in terms of where to focus investment. But he surely must recognise that the additional costs of employing people, the additional rights and burdens that puts on employers, particularly small employers, plus 11 weeks of speculation about further tax increases, aren't going to make any sector feel more comfortable about where to invest in this country.
Mr Speaker, the honourable gentleman was a Treasury Minister, so understands some of the issues involved here. So I'd merely point him to the report that MSD released to their shareholders for the first quarter that said they had to divest from $3 billion a year of operating costs. That is a huge part of their operating agenda, and that's a geopolitical issue as well as a commercial decision.
Bob Blackman.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. The Minister will know that this part of London, where MSD were going to invest, has been significantly invested in for medical research, particularly in research of brain-related diseases. Now, this decision casts doubt on the future of that particular area around the Greater King's Cross area. So what implications does he draw from this decision to disinvest on that particular proposal, which is supported cross-party?
Mr Speaker, at this stage I'm not aware that there will be any downside to the entirety of that ecosystem that revolves around the King's Cross area of London. Obviously, this decision has come very late to the government. We'll work with MSD in terms of the future, but I think there's a very, very bright future, as we've just heard from my right honourable friend, for this particular cluster and for all the other clusters that we've heard from honourable members from across the chamber already this morning.
Danny Beale.
For transparency, I should declare that I was a director of the Knowledge Quarter Partnership in King's Cross and cabinet member responsible for negotiating the MSD headquarter deal. It is disappointing news today. But turning to my current constituency, I hear from a number of life sciences and pharmaceutical companies that they have concerns about the previous government's VPAG levy and how it's working in practice, particularly that it's focused on revenue and not profit and doesn't take into account the differential level of R&D needed. Particularly Celtron, the South Korean company in my constituency, highlight that the biosimilar medications require a lot more investment than other forms of pharmaceuticals. Will the Minister or his counterpart meet with me and Celtron in my constituency to discuss the biosimilar sector and how we can support it to grow?
I'm very grateful and I'm very happy to take up that meeting and hear directly from the experience that the honourable gentleman has. But he raises the big issue around the legacy that was left by the previous government of 15 years of underinvestment in medical pricing. There was a £1 billion offer made by the Health Secretary to the pharmaceutical industry over the summer, which the pharmaceutical industry decided not to vote on, which meant it was withdrawn. That's disappointing. The last deal was done in 2023 under the previous government, and this is a long-term issue that has to be resolved.
Kim Jones.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Life sciences plays a significant impact in terms of the economy and public health initiatives across the Liverpool City region. So it was a blow earlier this year when AstraZeneca pulled out of the £450 million deal to expand its plant in Speak. So can the Minister explain how his department is supporting the Liverpool City Mayor and the Life Science Investment Zone to build confidence and to secure greater investment for this sector?
Very simply, Mr. Speaker, to the Honourable Lady, the Life Science Sectorial Plan has been set out to give industry certainty over the longer term that this government is serious about the investment that we will make and the industry will make in the sector itself. £2.5 billion a year from this government, the largest settlement for R&D ever, and the spending review £86 billion. I hope that gives reassurance to her constituents and to the life sciences companies in her constituency and around the region that this government is serious about backing them.
Mr. Speaker, and I welcome the right honourable member to his new role, although admittedly surprised that Labour adopted a fire and rehire strategy. Scotland has one of the highest concentrations of life sciences hubs, and in the last 5 years has created 6 innovation centres directly aligned to life sciences. What assessment has he made on the impact of this announcement on Scotland's research and development sector, and what support does he plan to put in place?
Mr. Speaker, I visited Roslin CT, my own constituency, last Friday, and the life sciences sector in Scotland is indeed buoyant and flourishing. There are lots of opportunities for them to expand. It's probably a dividend of the union.
Adam Jogi.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I'm very pleased the Minister has confirmed and reiterated that life sciences remain a priority in the industrial strategy. Keele University in Newcastle Lyme is at the heart of our life sciences sector, which is particularly important for jobs and opportunities in the industrial heartlands in communities like mine. So will the Minister find time to meet me to talk about how we can support the work at Keele, or even better, will you get on the train and come and see us? Hear, hear.
I'm very happy to do so. I think that's my third invite already this morning, and I'm very happy to do so. And I think what that question demonstrates, and the invite to go to Newcastle under Lyme to visit his constituencies, the thriving life sciences sector all across the country. And I can give him an assurance that we tend to back the life sciences sector. And whilst it's an incredibly disappointing decision from MSD to make in terms of what their new building at King's Cross, it's a thriving sector. Many companies are investing and growing very quickly.
Tom Gordon.
Speaker. It's just the latest in a series of blows to UK life sciences. Companies have been pulled towards the US with incentives and tariffs, while we have no detailed industrial strategy, an uncompetitive tax regime from the Treasury, and a Department of Health that undervalues drug access. When the government announced its life sciences plan, it fell short of what industry and the sector expected. So will the government commit to an updated, refresh, cross-party, and give businesses the stability they need to invest in Britain?
Mr Speaker, yet more spending but no idea of how the revenue would be increased. This government had to make some incredibly difficult decisions in order to balance the books to give that stability in the economy so we could invest in R&D such as life sciences. The NHS 10-year plan is moving treatment to preventative. That will require medicines. Moving hospital to community will require medicines, and moving from analog to digital will enhance and target medicines more better for the patients. That is just one example of what we're doing in the NHS to improve our life sciences sector. It is a key part and one of the 8 key sectors of industrial strategy, and we intend to back it through that strategy.
Peter Swallow.
Thank you, Mr Speaker. Can I welcome my right honourable friend to his place, and also welcome my honourable friend, the member for Glasgow South West, to his place as Life Sciences Minister in the Department for Health. I am incredibly ambitious for the life sciences in my constituency of Bracknell and across Berkshire. It's a key industry for us. So will my right honourable friend share my ambition and agree to meet with me or set up a meeting with the Life Sciences Minister to discuss what more we can do to support the sector in Bracknell?
Mr Speaker, in the interest of time, yes.
Medical isotopes are critical for the treatment of cancer and for diagnoses and for other medical applications, yet there has long been concerns about security of supply. Welsh Government's Project Arthur are working with the nuclear licensed site Trawsfynydd in my constituency to develop the means of producing medical isotopes for security of supply here in the UK. What is his department doing to work with the Department of Health to find a way of bringing this forward?
I've just been working with the Department of Health to try and bring this forward. I don't know the exact answer to this question. To our question. If I knew the answer, I would give it. I don't, so I'll write to her.
Thanks very much, Mr Speaker, and may I welcome the Minister to his place. The life sciences sector is helping to regenerate parts of South Birmingham's economy, from the new Waters pharmaceutical factory on the old Longbridge MG Rover site in my constituency to the University of Birmingham's Life Science Incubator. The Minister has been extremely generous in agreeing to meet members today, so continuing in that spirit, would he be willing to meet with South Birmingham MPs to discuss what more can be done to support this very important part of our local economy?
Mr Speaker, I'm tempted just to say no, just to see what good reaction that gets, but of course I'll meet with any honourable or right honourable member across this House to discuss this life sciences sector. And I think what it shows, Mr Speaker, whether you're north, south, east or west, including in my own constituency, life sciences plays a key role and continue to do so.
Gregory Stafford.
Thank you, Mr Speaker, and I must declare that my wife works in the pharmaceutical and life sciences industry. The Minister and the Chancellor claim to want to boost growth, yet investment is fleeing the very sectors that he claims is a priority. Yeah. Is it not the case that the vague aspirations of the government don't meet the real-world test, and the only people who are going to be suffer from this are his constituents and, unfortunately, mine?
Here, here. Minister.
Mr Speaker, can I congratulate the honourable gentleman's wife and what she does in the sector? She's the only one in the family with a real job. But this shows you, does show you the depth and breadth of the sector across the country. Everyone will know someone who works in the life sciences sector. £86 billion from the spending review going into research and development, £2.5 billion backing the life sciences sectorial plan. There is, of course, economic and geopolitical issues that are affecting the pharmaceutical industry at the moment. And as I said in my opening remarks, Mr Speaker, MSD's quarterly report said they had to take $3 billion out of operating costs over the next few years. And unfortunately and regrettably, this is part of that plan.
I represent people who work at the excellent Living Systems Institute at the University of Exeter. The purpose-built institute was launched in 2017 to bring together physicists, mathematicians, biologists, biomedical scientists, with the expectation that life sciences is going to enjoy substantial foreign direct investment for the years to come. What effect does the government anticipate the withdrawal of this private investment will have on the life sciences for research students, including those at Exeter?
Well, Mr Speaker, I would say to life sciences students in particular, who are at the fledgling part of their career, that this is a career they should be in for the long term. This is the future. This is why it's part of our industrial strategy and one of our key 8 sectors in that industrial strategy. And I know this is incredibly disappointing news that the government have had today in this commercial decision from MSD, but there's lots of wonderful stuff going on in this sector, so we should not talk it down. Moderna are investing more, BioNTech are investing more, Isomorphic Labs are investing more, Roslin CT, my own constituency, are investing more. We've heard right across the chamber today the companies that are investing more in life sciences. This is a growing industry, so I would say to fledgling academics and people who want to get involved in this industry to get in there.
Jim Shannon, final question.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I thank the Minister for his answers? I think what we're all seeking today is reassurance in relation to the sector. News that MSD has withdrawn their project plan for a research centre in the United Kingdom, and the loss of 125 potential jobs and staff is devastating for our science plans. It does show a lack of faith in long-term planning by the investors that we are so reliant on. So how will the Minister seek to reassure global partners that science investment is a priority for this government, and will investment see a swift return to the United Kingdom of Great Britain and Northern Ireland? Thank you.
Mr. Speaker, our workforce are the very best in the world. Our world-class institutions are made world-class because of that world-class workforce. This is the best place in the world to invest at the moment. We're obviously in discussions with the US around the pharmaceutical industry in terms of tariffs and the EU-US economic deal. There's lots of positive stuff going on in this industry, and if we were to send out one message to the industry today from this House, it's that this industry is thriving. It is one of the key 8 sectors of our industrial strategy. This government backs it. We're backing it with money, we're backing it with our strategy, and we're backing it as a whole government.
Right, that can let the front benches change over. So we now come to business questions. Shadow Leader of the House. Jesse? No.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Speaker. Will the new Leader of the House give us the forthcoming business?
Here, here. Can I just welcome the new Leader of the House and thank the previous Leader as well, but I'm looking forward to this session. Leader of the House.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Probably more than I am. Can I, first of all, give the business? On Monday, the 15th of September, consideration of Lord's amendments to the Employment Rights Bill. Tuesday, the 16th of September, second reading of the Sentencing Bill. The House will then rise for the conference recess at the conclusion of business on Tuesday, the 16th of September, and return on Monday, the 13th of October. The business for the week commencing 13th of October includes Monday, the 13th of October, general debate on baby loss. The subject for this debate was determined by the Backbench Business Committee. Tuesday, the 14th of October, remaining stages of the Mental Health Bill, Lords. Wednesday, the 15th of October, remaining stages of the Sustainable Aviation Fuel Bill. Thursday, the 16th of October, second reading of the Biodiversity Beyond National Jurisdiction Bill. On Friday, the 17th of October, the House will not be sitting. And the provisional business for the week commencing 20th of October includes Monday, the 20th of October, Committee of the Whole House and remaining stages of the Diego Garcia Military Base and British Indian Ocean Territory Bill.
Jesse Norm.
I thank the Leader for the business. Mr. Speaker, on this 24th anniversary of 9/11, I know the whole House want to join me and I'm sure the Leader in sending our best wishes to the families and the friends of the victims of those horrendous terrorist attacks. So too our best wishes to those grieving at the murder of Charlie Kirk in the USA, and to our own great colleague, the member for Washington and Gateshead South, for the terrible news that she has had this morning. Let me start, if I may, by thanking the recently departed Leader of the House. She and I had our disagreements. I don't think there's much doubt about that. She supported the wrong football team, and I struggled to get her to answer my questions. But she was diligent and effective in responding to members across this House as well as in committee. Without getting too teary about it, I will even miss her appalling puns. But, Mr. Speaker, it is an ill wind that blows nobody any good. Hurricane Tax Dodge blew away the Deputy Prime Minister and destroyed the Prime Minister's much vaunted Phase 2, but it has brought us the former Labour Chief Whip. He was a history teacher, and there can't be many better forms of public service than that. After his distinguished career channeling industriously away in the usual channels, I warmly welcome him blinking to the bright lights of the dispatch box. Mr. Speaker, I had somehow thought that having plumbed the depths of incompetence over the summer, the government would now settle down a bit. How naive, how desperately foolish I was. The number 10 team were obviously taking the mickey. They were laughing at us, Mr. Speaker. You think this is incompetent? They said, we've hardly got going. We can do vastly better than this. Resets are for wimps. Let's have a full-blown crash reshuffle. Let's have a new Foreign Secretary and a Home Secretary, as well as a new Deputy Prime Minister. And let's undermine the Chancellor of the Exchequer by ostentatiously lining up the former Chief Secretary to replace her. The markets will really welcome that. Even better, let's have an election for Deputy Leader. People are already scared to death about all the taxes coming in the budget, but they'll be completely reassured if we run a Labour leadership election at the same time. Ideally, we can make the Deputy Leader a former Cabinet Minister whom the Prime Minister has just abruptly fired. That'll be good for stability. Oh, and we can go further. We can actively undermine relations with our closest ally if we throw in a major scandal over the Prime Minister's personal choice as ambassador to the USA. Mr. Speaker, if only this was a joke. Instead, it is a tragedy. It's like we're trapped in an unending episode of The Office with the Prime Minister as David Brent. The unions are ratcheting up their pay demands. The RMT is holding 7 days of rolling walkouts. The tube has come to a standstill. The only people who probably won't be affected are junior doctors in London who have voted to have strikes until the new year, and they'll be staying at home anyway. As the former director of the IFS remarked, it all shows how, and I'm quoting, staggeringly unprepared Labour was for government. And it is we, Mr. Speaker, we across this House and all our constituents who are paying the price for their arrogance and negligence. Mr. Speaker, the leader will only just be coming up to speed now, of course, one perfectly understands that, but I would make one early request of him, if I may, with the utmost seriousness. He will know that many thousands of veterans, including hundreds in my own constituency and in his constituency, have had their lives thrown into uncertainty and bad, desperate indeed in some cases, anxiety by the government's decision to repeal the Northern Ireland Veterans Act. That was more than a year ago now. The government promised a legally sound and effective legislative solution to the problem it had created. So could the leader let us know now or in a written update before the recess when the Northern Ireland Secretary will come to the House and publish that solution?
Hear, hear.
Leader of the House.
Thank you very much indeed, Mr. Speaker. First of all, can I add my tribute to my predecessor, the Right Honourable Member for Manchester Central, for her excellent work as Leader of the House over the last year. She spearheaded the revival of the Modernisation Committee, which was a manifesto commitment, and oversaw the packed legislative programme that formed the basis of this government's first King's Speech. I know I'm amongst many MPs across the House in wanting to thank her for her diligence and hard work. Yeah. I'd also, Mr. Speaker, like to express my thanks to Colin Lee, the Clerk of Legislation, who is retiring this week, having joined the House service in 1988. MPs from across the House have valued his wise counsel over many years, and I know the whole House will wish him well. I know the House will also share my sadness at learning of the death of Sir Roger Sands, who was Clerk of the House from 2003 to 2006. Sir Roger was a distinguished servant of the House for 41 years, and the House will want to convey our condolences to Lady Sands and to Sir Roger's family. Now, Mr. Speaker, I'd like to turn to the Shadow Leader's remarks, but before I do so, and thank you for welcoming me to my place, before I do so, I should caution him and indeed the House that the last time I answered a question from this dispatch box was the same year as the iPad was released. Both you and I, Mr. Speaker, had, shall we say, a little more hair. But at the time, the average price of a pint of beer was £2.91. And at the minute, Mr. Speaker, there are people behind me who weren't even old enough to buy. But I am looking forward to having these sessions with the Shadow Leader of the House. We've actually been in the House for a decade, but I can't claim to know him particularly well, so I too went to Wikipedia to find out a bit more. He is, Mr. Speaker, a philosopher, a historian, and an author of note. It is clear, Mr. Speaker, that the right honourable gentleman is a thinking Conservative, which is an increasingly rare commodity. I want to associate myself with the comments that he made on the anniversary of 9/11, also on the death of Charlie Kirk, and let us remember that in these circumstances his family have been robbed of a father and a husband. There is no justification at all for political violence, whatever the views of the person involved. Now, I know, Mr. Speaker, that there will inevitably be a degree of knockabout about the state of the government at these sessions, or indeed the state of the opposition. And just to say that I am happy any day to have a debate on the comparison between this government's 14 months and his disastrous government of 14 years. The only thing we were unprepared for, Mr. Speaker, was the scale of the state that this country was in. On the substantive point in which he raised about Northern Ireland, he knows that these are difficult matters. He also knows that the government has given a commitment to bring forward legislation. It is really important that reassurances are in place. And I can tell him that the government will be saying something very, very shortly. And let me just finish on this, Mr. Speaker. The Shadow Leader in the House and I both have a deep respect for Parliament, and I can give him and the House reassurance that I take my responsibility, both as the government's representative in Parliament, but also this House's representative in government, very seriously indeed.
Can I say to everybody, I expect to run this for around an hour, so help each other by being short and punchy. And we'll have a good example with Elsie Blundell.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker, and I would like to welcome the Leader to his place. I applaud the Government for its bold action it is taking to reform the criminal justice system, but more must be done to safeguard communities from violent reoffenders. In Middleton, I have been in touch with the courageous family of Michael Houlihan. Michael was tragically killed in 2016 by a prolific offender who, despite being under the supposed supervision of the local probation service, was not prevented from committing this appalling act which has devastated the lives of his family and friends. Please would the Leader consider allowing a debate in government time so that members can consider how we mitigate reoffending among violent perpetrators and give voice to the countless bereaved families out there who deserve our compassion and our focus.
Yeah. Leader of the House.
I'd like to thank my honourable friend for her question. This is without doubt an appalling tragedy, and my family are with the thoughts are with the family of Michael. It is important that we address the issue of reoffending. It is critical to public safety. We have the second reading of the sentencing bill on Tuesday, which aims to reduce offending because it has a devastating effect on victims, and I would encourage you to consider speaking in that debate.
Liberal Democrat spokesperson Marie Goldman.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Can I start by first welcoming the new Leader of the House to his place, and also join him and the Shadow Leader in thanking the previous Leader of the House for her sterling efforts, especially when there are so many people bobbing to ask questions every Thursday morning. Indeed, I look forward to working with him on the various committees on which we'll be serving. I hope he will follow the government's mantra to go further and faster, especially in modernisation. Today is a big day for news, but in particular I would like to echo words condemning the appalling attack on the office of the Honourable Member for Washington and Gateshead South, for whom I have a huge amount of respect. I also want to join other colleagues by recognising that today is the 24th anniversary of 9/11. I'm sure the whole House agrees the importance of remembering the victims, including British citizens, their families, and those who continue to be affected both physically and mentally by the attack and its aftermath. Madam Deputy Speaker, this week I again met with victims and family members who have been subjected to ongoing injustice in our health system. In particular, women and their children who were affected by shocking failures of medical devices and the prescription of drugs that had devastating, life-changing consequences. While pregnant, my constituent Mary was prescribed the anti-epilepsy medication sodium valproate. Very sadly, Mary joined so many other parents whose children were consequently born with significant birth defects. Like any parent of a disabled child, Mary is incredibly worried about their future and what support will be in place to look after them when she is no longer able to. But, Madam Deputy Speaker, victims and their families are exhausted. They have campaigned for many years to draw political attention to these matters, but it seems successive governments aren't listening. Indeed, the government has yet to respond to the Hughes report into the sodium valproate and pelvic mesh scandals that was published over 18 months ago. So I ask the leader, will he ask the Health Secretary to make a statement to this House to urgently provide an update?
House.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'd like to thank the honourable member for her questions and the tone of her questions. And I look forward to working together with her both on the Commission and the Modernisation Committee. And I want to commend her for campaigning on these really important matters. Our sympathies are with those affected, and we are fully focused on how best to support patients and prevent future harm. The Government will continue to listen to those affected in this complex area. And I'll ensure that ministers in the Department of Health and in the Cabinet Office have heard her concerns, and if she wishes to meet them, then I'll seek a meeting.
Mary Kelly-Foy.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I had the pleasure of meeting Fergus, Freddie and Michael, members of the band Jam Tub, at a recent visit to Framwellgate School in Durham. These musicians are passionate about contributing to the cultural vibrancy of Durham, performing at events like the much-loved Durham Fringe Festival. But they contacted me after they noticed a distinct lack of venues across the whole of County Durham for young bands to perform and practice in, limiting their opportunities to, as musicians to grow. So will the Leader of the House agree to a debate in government time on the importance of addressing regional cultural inequalities which are impacting opportunities available to talented youngsters, not just in Durham but across the country?
I thank my honourable friend for that question, and as a Durham lad I concur with her. It's not just a question of venues in Durham, it is a question of venues across the country. And the government, and in particular the department, is very cognizant of that and will be doing everything that we can to support them. These are issues which affect a lot of constituencies, and therefore should she choose to seek a backbench debate or even an adjournment debate, I'm sure she'll receive support from across the House.
Chair of the Backbench, Business Committee, Bob Blackman.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and I welcome the Leader to his position, and I hope we can have an early meeting to ensure that backbenchers can give their voice in this chamber as before. I thank him for the business being read on the 13th of October when we return from conference. Given past experiences of when we return from recesses and the likelihood of statements and possibly urgent questions, there are 78 people that want to speak on the baby loss debate. So I would ask him to consider giving it protected time so that people are able to relate their stories. In addition, the business in Westminster Hall on Tuesday, the 16th of September, will be a debate on the International Day of Democracy. On the 16th of October, there will be a debate on World Menopause Day, followed by a debate on the Ada Lovelace Day and government support for women in science, technology, engineering and mathematics. And on the 23rd of October, there will be a debate on histological testing of excised moles, followed by a debate on the impact of NHS workforce levels on cancer patients. Now, Madam Deputy Speaker, I was very tempted to ask a question about the legalisation now, which happened at an employment tribunal earlier this week, that it's now possible to discriminate against people because of the football team they support. However, there's a much more serious issue, and that is the situation in Nepal. Following the death of 20 protesters, the Prime Minister of Nepal resigned, the Parliament building was set on fire, and there is a threat of a military coup. Now, I certainly have many relatives of constituents who live in Nepal and are worried about the situation for their families. So I wonder if the Leader could arrange for a Foreign Office Minister to give a statement next week on what we are doing as the United Kingdom to protect those families and support the families in the United Kingdom.
Leader of the House.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. First of all, let me thank the honourable member for his work as Chair of the Backbench Business Committee, and I do look forward to working with him. I will commit to an early meeting with him, but also regular meetings. In terms of Mondays, he will know that I've long taken the view that we need to take care on Monday, whether it's backbench business or indeed government business, when we return from recess. And so I will give some thought as to protected time, but the reality is that we can often manage the business of that day. The government can manage the number of statements that go on. There is an issue around managing UQs, which is not the government's decision, but nevertheless can be managed. But I will return to that issue if need be. On the really important matter which he raises about the situation in Nepal, the recent loss of life and violence in Nepal is appalling. We do support fundamental freedoms and respect for human rights, including the right to protest and peaceful assembly, but violence is not the way forward. I expect that the FCDO will be across this matter, but I will ensure that I will draw his remarks to their attention.
Ms Twist.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. School holidays are great, but it can be a really tough time for some families. And programmes like the holiday activities and food programme help to bridge the gap by providing not only meals, but opportunities to build social skills and confidence with age-appropriate activities and a side serving of fun. Now, this year I attended a half-plus event hosted by Northumbria University, where young people aged 13 to 16 could do just that by taking part in activities from baking to gaming to martial arts designed by young people themselves. I'm delighted that the government has invested to extend the scheme for another 3 years. So can we have a debate in government time on how we can build on the success of HAF?
Yes.
I'm delighted to hear about the success of the programme, and as an alumni, I'm not surprised that Northumbria University is helping to deliver such successful programmes. It does a fantastic job for our region. We recently announced that £600 million is being invested to extend the holiday activities and food programme for another 3 years, and it has already reached over 500,000 children in the past year. And I'll ensure that the Secretary of State has heard my honourable friend's question this morning.
Karen Bradley.
Very much, Madam Deputy Speaker, and can I welcome the leader to his place and pay tribute to his predecessor, who I have to say to my honourable friend supports exactly the right football team. Madam Deputy Speaker, people in Staffordshire Moorlands are very concerned that they should have their say about what happens in devolution plans. So I'm sure the leader will share my astonishment that the reform-led Staffordshire County Council has put forward a proposal for an East Staffordshire Unitary Authority, which would see not just Staffordshire Moorlands, but Burton, Uttoxeter, Tamworth and Lichfield drawn into a greater Stoke-on-Trent. So could the leader find time for a debate on the importance of local people having their own say on what happens in their local area?
Leader of the House.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I have to say to my, I was going to say my right honourable friend, she's in many ways actually, that I don't share her astonishment about that at all, because this is not unique of where Reform have councillors and indeed where they're running councils. It nevertheless is an absolute shame that Reform councillors appear to have gone back on their word in this case. And one of the themes that must run through the work that we do in local government is that we need to listen to local people. I've no doubt that she will continue to make that case, and I'd urge her to do so by organising a debate on the matter.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The Sikh Helpline is a fantastic charity in my constituency which supports Sikhs and people from all backgrounds with abuse, addiction and mental health issues. Over the summer, the Sikh Helpline did a 350-mile bike ride from Scotland to West Brom to raise money for the charity. So will the leader congratulate all the riders that took part and make time for a debate on the importance of civil society organisations like this?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. First of all, can I recognise the fantastic work that my honourable friend did as my predecessor's PPS. And I thank her for what I assume, therefore, is her first business question. A 350-mile bike ride is a terrific achievement, and I join her in recognising the importance of the Sikh Helpline for the work that they do in their local community. And this is the sort of matter, I think, which could be raised perhaps in an adjournment debate.
Sir Roger Gale.
Madam Deputy Speaker, could I also welcome the new Leader of the House to his position? I suspect he'll have rather more fun at that dispatch box than his successor will in the Government Chief Whip's office. Could I also please associate myself with the kind remarks that he made about Colin Lee, whose service as a clerk of the House, one of the clerks of the House, has been exemplary. As one of the longest-serving members of the Speaker's panel of chairmen, I've had the pleasure of working with Colin over very many years. He will be sorely missed, and the House owes him a huge debt of gratitude. Madam Deputy Speaker, charities in the United Kingdom working in Africa tell me that as a result of the withdrawal of US aid, women and children are dying in droves. The House will not be sitting when President Trump visits the United Kingdom, so we will not have an opportunity to send a clear message from this House at that time. But the Prime Minister will. So would the Leader of the House ask the Prime Minister to place on the agenda for discussion in the margins the withdrawal of US aid from Africa, which is having such a devastating effect?
Yes. Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I will commit to making the Prime Minister aware of what the Right Honourable Gentleman is asking, and hope that that will be heard when the President visits. But I also have to say that given his experience and his voice, I'm not sure, I'm pretty sure that that message will be heard loud and clear.
Jessica Satter.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. One of the concerns raised by my constituents in Lowestoft is the closure of our public toilets due to redevelopment of our old Wilco site by the local council. I'm concerned that particularly older and disabled residents are being dissuaded from spending their time and money in our town centre shops due to fear of being caught short. Having met recently with the British Toilet Association, I learned that in the US, there is a national standard of one toilet for every 10,000 people. Can I therefore ask the Leader of the House whether we can have a debate in government time on the need for more toilets on our high streets?
To the House.
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker. I couldn't agree more with my honourable friend on the importance of the availability of toilets in our town centres. It's an issue which I'm sure comes to the attention of MPs very, very often. I know that many people, particularly for those with complex needs or health conditions, the lack of a toilet can be the deciding factor on whether or not they leave the house. And because it's clearly a case for so many of my colleagues across the House, I think this would be a great topic for a Westminster Hall debate.
Vera House.
Madam Deputy Speaker, may I also welcome him to his place. Just 3 days ago, the BBC revealed how effortlessly an illegal vape laced with spice can be purchased through Snapchat. 1 in 6 confiscated vapes in schools now contain spice. They are described as a zombie drug. They're a prison drug. They're condemning potentially young people to a lifelong addiction and criminal life. Yet this week, Ofcom wrote to say that such evidence does not meet the bar for enforcement action, even under the new Online Safety Act. Can we have a statement from the Department of Science, Innovation and Technology to explain why Ofcom is refusing to hold social media companies accountable for drug dealing on their platforms and putting thousands of young people at risk?
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. As a former drugs minister, I share her concern absolutely, because I've always thought that a strong line should be taken. But of course, there is also the issue of the role that social media plays in this. So I thank you for raising this really important issue that is important for many people, not least for parents. And I will draw her concerns to the attention of the new Science, Innovation and Technology Secretary.
Platt.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. So our high streets in Lee and Atherton are being undermined by illicit shops used for money laundering, illegal working and counterfeit goods. With raids on shops taking place just this week, seizing over £10,000 worth of illicit goods, but the shops reopening within hours. Criminals are exploiting loopholes in the Licensing Act 2003, with councils struggling to act. So can the Leader of the House confirm that restoring town centres is a government priority, and will he allow time in Parliament to debate strengthening licensing laws and closing these damaging loopholes?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Can I begin by congratulating my honourable friend on her recent marriage? Indeed. I wonder what you're congratulating her for. But she raises a very important matter, and she's a Doughty campaigner for her local community. High streets are a cornerstone of our local communities, and we are delivering 13,000 more officers in neighbourhood policing roles to tackle these matters. But I will draw her attention, her comments to the attention of the relevant department, but also encourage her to attend the next Home Office orals next week to raise it with ministers directly.
John Glenn.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Can I welcome the right honourable gentleman to his new role? Could I add to the voice of the honourable lady from Chelmsford and draw his attention to the reply that his predecessor gave me on the 27th of February concerning the response of the government to the report on valproate. It really is necessary that we do get a response. Janet Williams and Emma Murphy from InFact came to see me this week. They're grateful for the opportunity to meet the DWP Minister, but they really do need a formal response to the Commissioner's report of 19 months ago.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. He will appreciate that I am new to this role, but I give him a commitment that I will follow it up after this session and hopefully be able to arrange a meeting with the Minister and also to get a response which sounds overdue.
Sam Carley.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker. I've been supporting constituents living in ex-military housing on Embry Road in Wittering, my constituency. The MOD sold their homes years ago, but they've been left in limbo because their properties remain wrongly classified under MOD commercial energy contracts. Despite repeated attempts, many have been unable to set up domestic accounts and are now facing sudden backdated gas and electric bills of up to £6,000. Does the Leader of the House agree this deserves a debate in Parliament on billing errors, and will he ensure that Ministry of Defence officials contact me so that we can get these homes reclassified, allowing my constituents to access fair tariffs and avoid further financial distress?
Leader of the House.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I thank my honourable friend for raising this issue and recognise his affected constituents will have gone through a great deal of stress trying to deal with this. So I will ask colleagues in the Ministry of Defence to reach out to him in the hope that these matters can be resolved as soon as possible.
Liz Saville-Roberts.
Could I too welcome the new Leader of the House to his place? Trussell Trust's Hunger in Wales report published this week shows that families with 3 or more children are far more likely to be forced to turn to food banks. The 2-child limit is at the root of this injustice. It deliberately punishes children because of the number of brothers and sisters they have, and it is driving thousands of families into needless hardship. Will Labour in Westminster and Labour in Cardiff work together to grant debates in government time on the urgent need for this impoverishing policy to be scrapped?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The Honourable Lady knows that we are already taking action to help working parents. For example, free breakfast clubs will put £450 in the pockets of working parents. We've doubled the amount of free childcare for eligible working parents in extending care. We're expanding free school meals, and we're also extending the Household Support Fund. And I mentioned earlier in my remarks the holiday activities and food programmes. So we are doing a great deal. And of course, I know that there are discussions and debates around what other action can be taken. The government is committed to, it has a child poverty task force, which reports from time to time and will be reporting soon, whether they have something to say about this or not. She will also know that in the run-up to the budget, I've no doubt that these will be hot topics and there will be ample time to debate them.
Michael Payne.
Thank you very much, Madam Deputy Speaker, and may I welcome my right honourable friend, the Leader, to his place. I recently had the privilege of visiting Lamley Reed Pond. Will he join me in thanking and paying tribute to Bonnie Bramwell and all the Lamley Reed Pond Committee who have worked tirelessly to protect and enhance one of the most beautiful hidden gems in my constituency of Gedling?
Yes, I do, Madam Deputy Speaker. Environmental matters are so important in constituencies, and the work of community groups in constituencies are so important. They are at the heart of what makes a true community. I pay tribute not just to them, but also to him for his tireless work on their behalf.
Alison Griffiths.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. 2 nights ago, a man in his 30s was stabbed in the centre of Bognor Regis, and this follows a fatal stabbing earlier this year. So will the government bring forward a debate to consider how to make high streets safer and to tackle the increasing prevalence of knife crime in small seaside towns like Bognor Regis?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. We are taking action to tackle knife crime. In fact, we've given a commitment to halve it over the next decade and hopefully go even further than then. But she's said two things that are particularly relevant to me. One is, as a former Home Office Minister, I am acutely aware of the importance of levels of knife crime, but also as an MP for a seaside town, how important it is that they are safe places, not just for people to visit, but also for people to live as well. The government is absolutely determined to bear down on violent knife crime. And I'm sure there will be opportunities both in legislation in the future, but also should she choose to seek a debate on these matters.
Dave Robertson.
Madam Deputy Speaker, many honourable and right honourable members will know the name Armitage Shanks. The company has been making basins and toilets for over 200 years. Fewer people will know, though, that it takes its name from the village of Armitage in my constituency. Sadly, Armitage Shanks is planning to scale down its operation there, shutting one of its kilns and threatening up to 100 jobs. I'm working closely with the GMB union to make sure that those affected can find other opportunities and to safeguard as many livelihoods as we can. But the impact of those job losses on the community will be serious. Can the Leader of the House arrange for a debate in government time on how the government can help protect historic brands like Armitage Shanks?
Leader of the House.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. The news that my honourable friend brings to the House of job losses is disappointing. It's always disappointing when jobs are lost, and I know that the whole House will share his concern, particularly when it is a well-known name employing a large number of people. We are committed to supporting British industry, and Armitage Shanks is a name well known throughout the land. The Chancellor has announced the date of the next budget, which will turn to the long-term reforms that Britain needs to unlock growth and ensure that it works for working people. I will, of course, bring forward time for a debate following the budget in the usual way.
Andrew Rossendale.
Madam Deputy Speaker, this is a truly sad and tragic day for our friends in the United States of America as we remember the events of 9/11 in 2001, but also the tragic assassination last night of Charlie Kirk, who I was privileged to welcome to the Houses of Parliament in 2018 and take him to Speaker's House for a Christmas reception. He was a friend of the United Kingdom. He stood up for freedom and his Christian faith, and we mourn his loss and send our condolences to his family and friends. But talking about someone of principle that stands up for freedom, on the 13th of October, the day we get back after the conference recess, will be the 100th anniversary of the birth of our finest post-war Prime Minister, Margaret Thatcher. Will the Leader of the House allow a debate on the legacy of Margaret Thatcher, which was to restore the British economy, to stand up for Britain around the world, defend freedom, and not give away British islands, but protect them and defend them and restore them, as she did for the Falkland Islands in 1982.
Leader of the House.
Thank you indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker. And I echo my remarks that I made earlier about Charlie Kirk. Whether we shared views or not, political violence is never acceptable. In terms of the anniversary of Mrs Thatcher, should he wish to seek a debate around that anniversary, I can assure him that it will be well attended. And I can also assure him that there will not be the unanimous approval of her legacy and record that he perhaps thinks there will be. Because I come from a community, Madam Deputy Speaker, which was devastated by the loss of heavy industry. And to be honest, many of those communities are still suffering. And the difference between those days and this day today is that when there is industrial change, this government stands with working people to lessen the impact and to ensure that new growth brings new jobs.
Kim Johnson.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I think I'm the only MP that can say I've got 2 amazing football stadiums and 2 majestic cathedrals in my Liverpool Riverside constituency. And we are of the top 10 areas nationally for jobs, economic income and economic value. However, the hospitality sector are still struggling to recover from COVID and the rise in NI contributions. So will the Leader of the House allow a debate in government time to discuss how we bring the UK closer to EU competitors by reducing VAT and to provide maximum discount for hospitality sites under 500,000 rateable value to stimulate demand, boosting competitiveness and keeping venues open?
Thank you very much indeed, Madam Deputy Speaker. And my honourable friend is a Doughty campaigner, not just for her constituency, but indeed for her city. The government is always concerned about the state of hospitality and making sure that we act in a way in which we encourage investment in hospitality. It is at the centre of many of our constituencies, not least mine, not just about making sure that there is decent pay, but that there are decent conditions and respect for the people that actually work in them as well. But may I gently just say to my honourable friend, I know that the importance of getting the tax situation right, but when we need to raise national insurance in order to fill a financial hole, they were not easy decisions, but they were made. And people can't have it both ways. They can't have more spending on public services unless we actually, or indeed on hospitality support, unless we actually raise the money in the first place.
Richard Ford.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I would request, please, that we have a debate to consider both rural broadband and rural 4G. Broadband coverage in much of Devon is poor, in spite of the last government having said that they would spend £5 billion on it. 4G not spots are widespread, but the government scheme to get rid of them bears absolutely no relation to the broadband scheme. Will this government please get a map of those areas without proper broadband, plot on it the 4G not spots, and at least get everyone who I represent one or the other?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I will draw his attention, his issues to the attention of the relevant department, but we are putting £500 million this year to deliver Project Gigabyte and the Shared Rural Network to drive the rollout of digital infrastructure in parts of the UK that are currently underserved. And that will improve full nationwide connectivity by 2030. Over £2.3 billion of contracts signed to connect over 1 million homes in some of Britain's most remote locations.
Julie Minns.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker, and can I welcome the new Leader of the House to his place and also thank him for all of the help and support he's given those of us who were newly elected to this place 12 months ago in his previous role. Last Friday, Cumbria's new and first community county flag was unveiled at a special service at Carlisle Cathedral. Cumbria County flag is the result of a county-wide competition and public vote won by Cumbrian artist Ben Walker and presented to the Lord Lieutenant by the first Wetherall Brownies. Will the Leader of the House join me in congratulating Mr Walker on his excellent design and thank Cumbria's Lord Lieutenant for organising such a fantastic initiative that celebrates community cohesion and pride?
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'm happy to send my congratulations to Mr Walker and indeed to the Lord Lieutenant. We are proud of our flags, both national and regional. And I know, Madam Deputy Speaker, that Mr Speaker likes to mark historic county days by flying flags from Parliament's flagpoles. So we may see Cumbria's new community flag flying in Parliament Square in the future.
Evans.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. And could I ask the help for the new Leader of the House? I've been working with the Hinckley School to try and get their STEM building, their science and technology building project sorted. Now, this has been going on for a couple of years, and we were at a crucial point about contractors. However, with the reshuffle, the Minister who's in charge of that portfolio has been moved on. So therefore, we're in a pending position. I've already sent the information across to the Leader of the House. I'd be grateful if he'd contact the Department for Education on my behalf to help put pressure on to make sure we get a decision made on this so the development can get done and started before the winter sets in.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I know the honourable gentleman has raised this with ministers before, and also understand that officials from the Department of Education reached out to discuss these matters on Monday. Let me just pay tribute to him for campaigning on these matters as an assiduous constituency MP, campaigning for children predominantly, but also for parents and staff at the school. He will appreciate, as he's acknowledged, that new ministers are imposed after the reshuffle, and there is indeed a new minister in this role. So I will make sure that this is raised with the minister at the earliest opportunity, in the hope that he gets the earliest response possible.
Charlotte Nichols.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. Can I warmly welcome the Leader of the House to his new role and associate myself with the support across the House for our honourable friend, the member for Washington and Gateshead South. MPs have raised many times the unacceptable level of threats that we face. Increasingly, abuse and threats are being driven and whipped up by one platform in particular, X, previously known as Twitter, which has become a sewer of anti-Semitism, racism, misogyny and dangerous conspiracy theories, and its owner has specifically targeted members of this House. With a new Director of Communications in number 10 and a refreshed front bench, can we please have a debate in government time on whether it is appropriate for this platform to continue to be used for official government communications?
To the House.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. What my honourable friend says about X is truly shocking. We are very much in favour of free speech, but we're also against incitement to violence. We've delivered the Online Safety Act to seek to strike the balance between user protection and freedom of speech. On the matter of the government's use of X, it's right that the public are kept up to date with information, and it is simply true that a number of people still use X, but of course many are moving to other platforms, and as I'm sure the government will be taking that into account in its deliberations going forward, and we also keep our wider social media practices under review.
Rupert Lowe.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. My new political movement, Restore Britain, is currently running a membership poll on support for deporting all illegal migrants. The response from thousands of people is almost unanimously in favour. Will the Leader of the House make time for a debate on mass deportations, given its extraordinary level of public support, and ensure that this House has the opportunity to debate not just the moral imperative, but the legal and operational reforms required, including secure detention facilities, bilateral returns agreements, foreign aid suspensions, remittance taxes, visa cancellations, the introduction of a true hostile environment and plenty more, all in order to deliver the mass deportation of every last illegal migrant at scale and pace.
Leader of the House.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I'm tempted to give the answer that one of my predecessors, Ted Short, gave, which is to say no. However, I'm not going to do that because these are important matters. I made very clear in my opening remarks that I regard my role in this House as respecting the views of members and making up opportunities for members to debate those, even if they are, I have to say, abhorrent views. He knows, he's been here long enough, he knows that there are many ways in which these matters can be raised. He's just done it now. I'm resisting the temptation to go down the track of reciting the very important work that this government is doing. But if he does seek a debate on these matters in the usual way, then perhaps he'll be successful.
Lola McAvoy.
Thank you, Madam Deputy Speaker. I welcome the Leader to his new role, and I hope to see him being as generous with government time as he was with his own in his previous role. As he knows well, this month our country will celebrate 200 years since the world's first passenger railway journey took place on the Stockton to